Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome back to another live experience. My name is Leah C. Murphy, and I'm going to jump right into it. On Tuesday, earlier this week, we had some technical issues and our audio was not doing what it needed to do. So if you are here with me live, please do drop your city in the chat to confirm that our audio is seamless. My team and I worked in the background to make sure that we got that taken care of. And I was so embarrassed. I spoke for over 20 minutes and no one could hear me. And that's just the reality of entrepreneurship sometimes. You're doing the things, you think the things are working, you think all of the checks that you had in place before worked, and then it doesn't happen. So I can be honest about that because we're all human and we're doing the best that we can. So I appreciate those who are with me live on Tuesday and dropped in the chat, "Oh my goodness, Leah, we can't hear you. We want to make sure that, we left the room and left the live and came back in and we still can't hear you." I apologize to those folks who had invested that time. I hope you're back with us here today. If not, please do catch this on the replay. I love that the replay is doing amazing things. And today, instead of just saying, okay, well, we'll figure it out, I wanted to come back. I wanted to double down because I know that this topic is really important and folks are really interested in it. So let's get right into it. So the title of this one was really focused on stop using AI like it's Google because it's going to keep you overworked. But then as I thought about that, the more I had the right conversations and the more resources to be able to navigate what we're really trying to work on and bring to the table for you all, it just reminded me that I don't want to take for granted that everybody is on the same page when it comes to artificial intelligence. And the reason why I feel like there's an assumption that folks are on the same page is because there's so much splashy news and headlines. So I have some notes here and I want to make sure that we get right into the notes because it's going to be really helpful in us having the discussion that we need to have. So I'm going to just flip this around for a second. And once I do that, we should be in great shape. So really what we're talking about is this kind of Mel Robbins, right? Let's just get right into it. Let's just get right into it. There are a lot of really high profile women who are causing a stir, right, on social media and on a lot of platforms. And the AI controversies and pain points are going to keep rolling out. They're going to be around for a long time because there is so much pressure on our systems, on our media, on social media, and there's so much volume and noise that's being thrown into the system that we knew eventually some celebrities were going to jump in and get into the mess. Now, because what Mel Robbins did, for those who need a little bit more context, and I watched some of the videos, but please do go and do your own research for yourself. Because if you've been with us for a while or you're familiar with the work that we do here, I've talked about Mel Robbins before, and mostly in a way that I find her to have done something pretty amazing. She has used storytelling and built a platform to really beat tons and tons and tons of other creators. So I have to give her credit for doing that thing. She has tens of millions of followers across platforms, an extremely successful podcast. She has books, all of the things. So we can acknowledge that she is successful in the creative space. And at the same time, we can ask the questions about, does everything that she says apply to you? So I want to make sure that we do that and we ask, is everything that she says apply to you? It looks like I am. The audio is seamless. Lisa is joining us in Dallas, Texas. Welcome, Lisa. Lisa's one of our OG live attendees. So we're glad that you're able to join us. And when I get back to Mel Robbins, we can know that someone is successful and we can know that some of the things that they've said or shared has been helpful to us. But at the same time, raise an eyebrow when it doesn't sound right, when something's just not right. So I get an opportunity to be able to work with a lot of talented professional women and men across industries, from insurance to technology to media to healthcare to consumer goods. So a lot of the data and insights that I'm able to gather are because I am actually working directly with companies. Now, can I share the company names? Can I give all the specifics? Of course not. I have all kinds of legal requirements in order to be inside of these organizations as a third party. So I can't share that, but I do have the evidence, and I promise you I have the receipts. So when we talk about folks like Mel Robbins and the platform that she's been able to build, I am the CEO of a small company that focuses on professional development. I talk to professionals on a regular basis, daily. So when I'm talking about artificial intelligence and how to use artificial intelligence, it's based on real evidence and it's based on what real people are navigating in their workplace today. So now I want to put this in context. When I am speaking about using artificial intelligence, I mean in your personal and professional life. And there have to be two different behaviors often in your personal life of how you use artificial intelligence. And we're still building and formulating the ideas of how artificial intelligence is going to be able to be used in your professional life. So, why is the Mel Robbins reference important? Basically, what she did was instruct her followers to use social media, via using social media, to use artificial intelligence in order to get and handle and get control over their financial life. So she gave a prompt and instructed people to put certain information into a AI platform that is not controlled, that is not secure, that is not managed with the intention of sensitive data being included in it. So when she did that, it really allowed us to think. I, I hear what you're saying, but the key to this is there's risk that goes along with it. So it was a great example of there are motivators, there are people who are motivated by using the platform and getting the praise or applause or the acknowledgement or maybe even the compensation that goes along with promoting using a particular platform. And we are now helping you here at Career Gems for the Journey discern what are the right types of use cases for artificial intelligence. And we're going to focus specifically on career because that's where we go deep. So the prompt that she shared caused a lot of stir because people are uncomfortable with the recommendation that you would put sensitive information into a unmanaged, unsecure artificial intelligence platform, which is logical, right? And I'm glad that people are thinking, I hear her and she's very impactful and I've followed her advice in other areas, but this particular thing, there was something that told me not to do that or something that told me to slow down. And I want to encourage us to use our common sense when we start thinking about using artificial intelligence tools. I understand that there's a lot of FOMO. There's a lot of fear of missing out. There's a lot of pressure to be on the inside. And I think companies and media and social media and news outlets are really banking on our fear or banking on our concern for being left behind or left out of something. And then they are ratcheting up the pressure so that we take some kind of an action, that benefits a corporation. That's just the facts. So the fact of the matter is using artificial intelligence at work or even in your personal life can be a helpful, useful thing. Should there be guardrails on what you share and how you share it? Absolutely. So when I think about any recommendation to use a tool that comes with some kind of default, it has to come with common sense. And I want to just talk a little bit about this idea of security. Anytime you are using a free version of a software or any kind of a platform, you have to understand that that data is what the company is using to make money. So you're inputting data into the system. They're offering you their system for free or at a limited cost model. And then that data that you put in that system, they then use to sell or they then use to share with other parties. That is the model that exists. And that's why so many things have a zero cost, a $0 barrier, because they then own that data and they can use it in whatever way they see fit. Now, we already know that a lot of artificial intelligence tools were trained on copywritten or secure information that the authors or the publishers or the original creators never got credit for. So we know that artificial intelligence needs new inputs and needs new information in order for the models to continue to grow, in order for them to evolve. So, how perfect is it that someone with a large platform would encourage people to put in sensitive information into a large language model that they would not have other access to? It's convenient for the model to be able to grow and get smarter and be better informed, but it also puts that information at risk to be consumed publicly at some later date. Now, is the risk immediate? No, right? It may not happen, 24, 48 hours. It might not even happen this year, but at some point in the future, there is a real risk to your sensitive data being out there in the ethos. So it's really the crux of making a strong transition to artificial intelligence. If we can use AI in a thoughtful, careful way, as all of the bugs are still being worked out, then we can leverage it as a tool. We can benefit from the asset. If we do not use it in a smart, discerning way, then we open ourselves up for unnecessary risk. And unnecessary is obviously my opinion. We don't need the risk yet. There's not so many great things that are happening on these platforms that say override your common sense and put your sensitive information here because something so magical, so fantastic, so transformational for your life is going to pop out. Now, I want to say this. I think that what Mel tapped into is a part of her core brand and storytelling. She was able to understand that women are particularly feeling like they are not incorporated in artificial intelligence. They're not being recognized, they're not participating. Now, there's oftentimes an infrastructure behind that where that would be happening. Lots of these tech companies that are developing AI tools are run by men, are run by white men. So it would make sense that women, especially women of color, or even diverse parties, diverse people, would not be represented in artificial intelligence often. So, because she knows that's true, she was able to tap into that discomfort, that insecurity. Not that it's I'm not arguing as to whether or not the point that she made about women not participating is true. I'm arguing the how you get introduced to it and what action you take after that. That's where the problem lies. But she also was really, really astute in acknowledging that this economy is one that is, for lack of a better term, it is in the dumps. There are so many people who are experiencing all kinds of financial insecurity as a result of this current economic environment we're in. Whether it's gas prices, whether it's grocery prices, whether it is just getting the basic needs from diapers for your children, from formula, all of the prices are going up. So when you have an economy where prices are going up and you have people who are trying to figure out how do I keep my head above water? I'm absolutely struggling and I can see it in my finances. And then you come to them with a solution that is, well, tell this tool that you're having problem with your finances, import all this sensitive information and it will give you something that may make you feel better about your current position, or it may give you some suggestions on what actions to take about your personal finances. So it's a very important intersection that she was able to tap into. And there are going to be lots of people who are vulnerable and are challenged, but not because of anything that they've done, but because they're in a very complex position. And that complex position sometimes can make us feel desperate. And I can absolutely appreciate and identify with feeling like this economy is crazy. I feel like a lot of things are out of control. I'd love to have some perspective on how I can weather this storm. Now, the key here is using artificial intelligence means that there isn't a human on the other side. And multiple times in the prompt that she mentioned, she talked about give me a judgment free suggestion, step by step. Remove any judgment in the decision to take these actions. So there was this idea that AI is not going to judge me for being in a bad financial position. So that's why I should use it under these circumstances. And I understand that many people don't ask for help when they're in a difficult position because they're worried about how the humans in their life are going to judge them, are going to view them, how it may change the perception of who they are. And I think that is where the most risky, dangerous, most vulnerable population sits. I want to avoid sharing my truth with other people because I don't want them to think differently of me. So, yes, maybe that would make me more likely to do something that is not in my long term best interest for security of my data. So, that's my real issue. My real issue is there's a very specific vulnerable population that seems like they were the target of this effort, and I hate that for us. I hate that in our weakest moments or in the points where we don't feel like we have a lot of good options, that there are large platforms that are then saying, send them to us in a state of desperation. But I also do want to be really honest and acknowledge that everyone can't afford to get great financial advice. Everyone can't afford to work with a private advisor. So I do agree that using systems or using technology in order to better educate yourself is a great place to start if you're trying to get a better financial education and you want it to be a low investment approach. But putting your sensitive data into the system is where I draw the line. I think the recommendation is an open door for really major risk, and it's just not worth the sacrifice. So it stood out to me because I'm someone who works directly with the public on a regular basis, and I understand that sensitivity. I understand that desire to protect yourself, and I want to make sure that I'm sharing this with the intention not to shame anyone for being tempted to make the choice, but just to make sure that we feel informed and educated on how our choices may affect us in the long term, and that there are other ways or other alternative options that we could find. And we don't want to buy anything hook, line, and sinker. We want to use our own critical thinking and our own judgment as we're making decisions for our short term and long term future. So I just want to encourage us to navigate artificial intelligence with our best judgment. So, when we're thinking about what the real truth of the matter is, the truth of the matter is there's still a lot of bias built into these large language models, and there's no indication of protection. So, because there's no protection in place, then we have to treat it as though this information could be public forum, in the next 90 days. It could end up in a newspaper, it could end up on a blog, it could end up in somebody's thesis, it could end up anywhere, and we don't know. Now, does it impact us directly? That only you can decide. I want you to be well informed so that you can make the best decision for yourself. I can't tell you what's right or what's wrong for you. I just want you to know what's at stake because that's what we're here for. We're doing the research so that you don't have to. So I want us to use artificial intelligence in a way that serves us, in a way that actually is in our best interest. And the truth of the matter is, there's still a lot of conflicting information about what's the right way and the right type of or the right mode of AI that we should be using. And there's still a lot of controversy around the building practices for large data centers in order to produce the right computing power to be able to use artificial intelligence and the effect on the environment. So I am personally conflicted with how to best use all of the AI power that I could use. And I'm trying to be discerning in when I use it and how I use it in the best interest of me and my business, but also in the environment. So if you're having any conflict or you're feeling like, well, I'm not really sure where to start, you're not alone in that. I want to encourage us to not let the noisiness of social media and the news cycles and newspapers and what lots of people may be telling you is, you're in FOMO, you're behind. It's just not true. So let me give you some evidence to tell you what's real. Adoption is being pushed and forced in workplaces and businesses in the United States. That's real. But companies are still in the middle of figuring out for themselves. I have sat in rooms with big multinational companies who are still rolling out their phase 2 artificial intelligence tools. They, started with a really small group of people who are navigating, their super users or power users in AI. And now they are still working out the bugs. They're still deciding what platforms they're going to use. They're still deciding what functions should be using what forms of AI. It's very much still in the what is our strategy? What is our plan? How are we going to bring it to life? That's still where it is in a lot of large organizations, because though adoption is being pushed and companies are spending, they have not begun to see a return on that investment yet. I follow, a number of different platforms, media platforms, be it the Wall Street Journal, be it Reuters, and it is consistent that large AI companies are still building out models that are fit for business. Some are faster than the others, some are well ahead of one another. I mentioned on the last time that I was live that OpenAI, which is the parent company of ChatGPT, was never intended for business. It was never intended. The original intent of the platform was really for video creation. And according to the Wall Street Journal, this is their words, not mine. Sam Altman, that CEO, intended ChatGPT to have an adult mode, to focus on adult conversations that would be generated by AI to a user. So that was the original vision that Sam Altman had, according to the Wall Street Journal, and to be able to create videos. So now when you think about something that was intended for one purpose, now being redesigned for another purpose, that takes time for that development to turn around. They've hired new CE, they've hired new leaders, they've hired executives to be able to really turn that company towards business. So if they haven't figured it out at the inception level, at the founding of the company level, it's no surprise that lots of big corporations are still working through what their plan is. So all that to say, you're not behind. There is still time for you to upskill in the area of AI. You can take action as quickly as possible to get to where you feel comfortable using the tools. And there's so many opportunities and ways for you to do that in a way that is safe, that is in your best interest, and that allows you to learn with real intention and progressively. It's impossible. It is very much impossible to keep up with the pace of everything that is changing in AI on a day-to-day basis. It is literally a new development on a new platform and new functionality that is getting rolled out on a regular basis. So I want you to take a breath and decide what platforms you already have access to, and figuring out how we can start to take steps forward and move the needle in the platforms we already have access to, so that you can grow and build your AI knowledge. So if you're already using AI at work, and maybe you're using it for emails, or maybe you're using it to summarize your calendar, maybe you're using it for kind of the most basic kind of Google search, I'll just type a question in AI and see what comes back. I want to encourage you to take it a step further, because when you're using it in that way, you're not getting the full leverage out of the tool. And it's a lot of trial and error that allows you to develop prompting skills so that you feel better about using AI to design workflows to actually make your life easier, to make your work day easier, to make your time use more efficient. And that's what I want to encourage us to do. So we don't want to type in one question and move on and treat it like Google. And we don't want to leave ourselves with opportunities that we could take advantage of and say, I'm going to type in a more complex prompt. I am going to ask it to show me the sources. I want AI to do some research for me, and I want it to produce the sources for the information, so that I am not just blindly believing what AI is telling me also. So I can go and verify and double check those sources. Because I'm seeing firsthand companies roll out their programs and also ask for employees to give them feedback on how the AI is performing the task that it intended. And to do that by asking actual subject matter experts inside of the company, or asking other verified sources, is this accurate? Doing a real-time comparison of what the AI model told you versus what you know to be true in the reality. So there's still this vetting process that even big corporate is having. So the volume of what people are doing in AI is going to keep the system charge with information. It doesn't mean that it's quality information. And sometimes you're going to get phenomenal, and you'll see in the disclaimers for the AI platforms that AI makes some mistakes. So please check and verify. And I want to encourage you to do that. And large corporate is actually giving that instruction to their employees. That tells you what you need to know. So, because the companies are still doing the figuring out and they're trying to figure out what model they should use and what translations, how much information they should share, how can they bolster their security, you still have time to upskill while all that is developing. And you're probably still ahead of lots of people in your organization. And you can get even further ahead. So, setting down the FOMO, setting down the flashy news titles, and really focusing on how do you become an authority in this thing that is so new that no one can become the foremost authority because it's ever changing and ever evolving. So, because we're in the early stages, my professional opinion, and you can quote me on this, is that AI as a companion, as a coworker alongside human critical thinking and context will be the short term future of work. My professional opinion, and you can quote me on this. AI alongside human critical thinking and human context building is the short term future of work. I sincerely believe that. Now, for typical workers who are navigating these platforms and these tools being rolled out and introduced to you, you still have time. That is your key takeaway. Take the time to get the upskill done. Because based on what I'm seeing, early claims for millions of dollars being saved, or early claims that so many problems are going to be solved and the risk is going to be completely mitigated, obviously that hasn't happened yet. Now, that doesn't mean that people aren't working feverishly in the background to get there. It just means that you're not behind. So you have the opportunity to upskill in this area. And it's still early enough to be able to, for the average person, for you, for me, for us together to continue to upskill in this area. And that's the commitment that I've made to myself. It's the commitment that I've made to my team. And it's also the commitment that I've made to my clients that I'll continue to put the effort in to upskill in these areas. But I'm not buying into the put your sensitive information into a prompt. It's absolutely no. So as we think about um, turning down the noise and really aligning to how can I be thoughtful and intentional about learning artificial intelligence, getting AI is something that I feel decent about, and that I am consistently upskilling and growing my knowledge base on the topic. That's why we're here. I wanted to really come to this audience to build something that was going to be worth them consuming around AI. So my team and I sat down and said, how do we develop a workshop, a tool that individuals can join us here at Career Gems for the Journey? We'll do it virtually. They'll get a 4-hour workshop to learn AI in a basic, novice, or intermediate level. How can we build that together? And we came up with our AI for non-technical workshop. So this AI workshop is really designed specifically for people who are not computer scientists, who are not data engineers, who are not on the tech side of artificial intelligence, but who are people who are going to work on a regular basis, keeping the business running. We're talking about sales professionals, logistics, we're talking about operations, project managers, we're talking about marketers. Those are the audiences that we're specifically building this workshop for. And you will leave the workshop immediately able to apply what you've learned in the workshop to your job. That's the commitment that we're focused on. Here at Career Jumps for the Journey, we're focused on making sure that the context for the work that we do aligns to your needs for your career. So you can see the workshop QR code on the screen, take advantage, scan the QR code, join the wait list to get the announcement for when the actual course will drop. It'll happen in June of 2026. We have brilliant instructors, thoughtful content creators who have done tons of work behind the scenes in order to actually research, bring the evidence base in over the last 6 months as new developments have happened so that we can bring you a rich thoughtfully curated AI workshop that really is going to build your AI competency and your confidence. So take advantage of that opportunity and join with us, a trusted resource that is not going to tell you to put your sensitive data into a large language model and just see what happens on the other side. So we would really, really, really discourage you from getting swept away in the hype. And we want to encourage you to join us for the AI workshop beginning June of 2026. So the US economy is really invested in artificial intelligence, and that's going to continue. So we're not putting our heads in the sand. We're not avoiding that AI is here and it's staying and it's going to continue to be a part of our life. We want to do it in a thoughtful, discerning way. So if this content was helpful for you, I appreciate you just doing me the solid of sharing it with your network, sharing it with your group chat specifically. We want to break the algorithm system and break the idea that, hundreds of millions of people need to see this video. We don't need hundreds of millions of people to see it. We need your network. We need the group of people that you specifically have influence over to get the link so that they can join us for this workshop that will launch June of 2026. So we're excited. We appreciate you riding with us. We appreciate you for trusting us. And we want to make sure that we help you make this journey work for you. So if you stay with us, you'll continue to learn more. But this QR code or head over to gemsforthejourney.org and click on AI workshop, and you'll be able to find all the information that you need to know to avoid putting yourself at risk, but to, in the smartest, most thoughtful way, use artificial intelligence for your career. So it's been an amazing riding with you. Thank you guys for being with us. We're going to continue to talk about all of the things that matter the most to you. And we hope that this time that you spent with us was valuable. Continue to make your journey work for you. Until the next time, I'll see you soon.